All right. Hello, friends, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Dreambound. In the last episode, we had just entered a dream, and I think this is going to be the dream where we find out some information that we have been kind of waiting to hear more on for a while, for the past few episodes. So I am excited to hop into this, and I hope that you are as well. Let's go and let's see what happens. He wanted, instinctively, to scream, but he knew there was no point. It was unlikely that anybody would be able to hear him. Not here. Not in this abyss between dreams. Noah fell, and he fell, and he fell, sinking into the darkness. It's all right. I've got you. You don't need to be afraid. Until a familiar-sounding voice called out to him from his featureless surroundings. Noah felt fingers twining between his, felt his palms pressing flush against those of another's. He blinked, and when he did, a familiar face appeared in front of him. It was Crow. Crow. The soles of Noah's shoes hit the ground with a soft thud. He had found himself, once again, in that strange void where he had wound up after his last dream had collapsed in on itself. Okay. It was blindingly white, so bright his eyes hurt. It was the place where Crow resided, the half-formed world which existed, though barely, in the rifts between dreams. Noah hadn't come here of his own volition the last time. Crow had rescued him, plucking him from the abyss like a fruit from a tree. Was this too Crow's doing? I assume. But why? Did you bring me here? Do you have something to talk about? Was it that obvious? He smiled, calmly, as he always did. It made Noah's heart do flips. A lucky guess, I suppose. And I can't think of any other reason why I'd wind up here. A smiling Crow stepped back, drawing his fingers free from Noah's. You're right. There is something I wanted to talk to you about. That's why I called you here. If it wasn't for me, you'd be happily sleeping and dreaming. I apologize for the interruption. It's all right. If it's you, I don't mind being yanked around in my sleep, I guess. I mean, you just fell asleep in Kane's arms, but sure, you can flirt with Crow, it's fine. I really am sorry for that. But before that, how are you, Noah? You seem somehow more tired and more well-rested than usual. I guess the country air is helping. I'm okay. I'm visiting home for a while. Home? Back on that mountainside? How do you know that? That's right. It's a little exhausting, but it's nice to be out of my apartment for a bit. The smile returned to Crow's face. Noah, you're doing so well. I'm really proud of you. Perhaps that's meaningless coming from me, but it's true, nonetheless. How could it be meaningless coming from you? I'm trying. It's hard. Giving up is so much easier than trying to keep going. I want to run back home and lock myself away, but there's things I need to do. People who need me. All the people who died, those who will be targeted in the future. Kane. You. I'm happy to hear that, Noah, but you needn't consider me a burden. I'm here to help you no matter what. I'll always be here. Noah looked up into Crow's eyes, trying to peer at whoever was behind the mask. He wondered if it could truly be August. He hoped, but now wasn't the time for that. So, right, I brought you here because there was something I wanted to discuss. I suppose you can consider this an emergency meeting of sorts. Anxiety began to fester inside Noah's head, but he did his best to ignore it. Did something happen? That is, well, it's hard to explain. I'm finding it difficult to put into words.
It's that bad?
Noah sighed. I should have figured. Feels like nothing is simple anymore. Noah's words were more directed at himself, but still, Crow's calm voice responded. Sometimes I wonder if this world or yours is the more confusing one. Dreams may be filled with chaos, but it's usually the people who create them who are the most confusing. I digress. Rather than telling you about what I brought you here for, I think it would be best if I showed you. That would save us a lot of time. And if we're lucky, it might end up saving somebody's life. Noah just nodded, ready to follow Crow anywhere. You know, you're starting to make me worry. Not deliberately. I really do want to help you. I promised I would. Crow sighed, looking down towards the ground. Are you ready to go? Sure, I'm ready. Ah, wait, there's something I wanted to ask you first. Yes? Is it possible that the killer appears multiple times to whoever they plan to kill? I heard from a few people now that the targets had nightmares of a person draped in shadow. Crow blinked, surprised, then smiled. You and I are truly on the same page, Noah. That is also the basis I've been going off of, and a reason I brought you here. Why would the victims be visited multiple times, though? Well, I have a hypothesis about that. Nightmares make you awaken, don't they? When the victims are visited by the killer, they are frightened, and their bodies wake them up. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so he's just, failing. That probably pisses him off. I imagine the killer is quite frustrated at that. So, we could use it to work out who's going to be killed if we work out who's having nightmares. Crow nodded. In theory, I imagine in practice it's a little hard for a regular person to find every person who has a nightmare. Right. But I'm not a regular person. I believe I found someone having those same nightmares. Quickly, we should be able to reach him. Crow once again took Noah's hand. Their fingers entwined together, almost as if they were lovers. For an action carried out within a dream, or a rift within a dream, Crow's hand was awfully soft. Noah was reminded, once again, of August, and how bashful they had been when they first held one another's hands. But Noah wasn't afforded the chance to reminisce for long. Once again, the world begun to shift around him. Okay. The bright white backdrop started to ripple, just like water. Then it melted away, to reveal a scene so familiar, Noah gasped. Huh? He might have been in a dream, but there was nothing fantastical about the landscape he now found himself in. It was late at night, just as it had been when he had retreated to his bedroom, and the sky was scattered with stars. The moon was full, its light pale and wan, I don't know, almost eerie. The moon's rays played across the leaves of numerous trees, which surrounded Noah like sentinels. And it played, too, across the surface of the water. Noah was standing by the riverside, the very same river which he had often retreated to as a young boy to paint. It was in this river that Asher had thrown his sketchbooks all those years ago. August had chanced upon him then, and he had waded into the water with him to fish the water-damaged books and all the scattered pages out. August was not with Noah now, however. He had to content himself instead with Crow, a man who looked strikingly similar to August, one who was so mysterious Noah couldn't really be sure who he was. Why did you bring me here? Huh? Noah frowned. He had meant to pose this question to Crow, but was surprised to hear it from someone else's mouth instead. What's going on? Noah tore his gaze away from Crow and glanced back to the riverbank. There were two figures on the opposite side of the bank, both of them shrouded in shadows. Noah didn't initially recognize either of them, not until the clouds parted and a shaft of moonlight split down onto the ground. The moonlight cast the features of these two figures into relief, and when it did, Noah gasped. He knew these people after all. He knew one of them very well, in fact. One of the figures was unmistakably Asher, while the other was Reuben, okay? What are they doing out here? I guess this is a dream, but whose dream is it? Is it Asher's or Reuben's? Crow. Noah addressed Crow in a quiet voice, though he didn't tear his eyes away from the opposite side of the bank. He couldn't bring himself to look away. What is this? This is not something I wanted you to see, necessarily. It doesn't feel too appropriate to glance at the inner workings of another's mind like this, but, well, I'm sure if we stay here, the person we're really waiting for will show up. Then we're camping out inside this dream until then. I suppose so. I've seen this dream many times. It's gone so many different ways, yet it never has a positive outcome. Asher thinks about this moment a lot. Then, this is Asher's dream. I really have been seeing a lot of these recently. Crow nodded. I can travel between people's dreams whenever I desire. Some people's dreams are more intense than others, so I get drawn to them, a little like a moth to a flame. Though most of the time I simply wait rather than visit dreams. Still, if I think it will be of help to you, then I will do it. This dream is one I've witnessed 3 times already. Don't play dumb with me. You know why I asked you to come here. Asher's voice cut through Crow's response. It wavered with emotion, his fingers twitching at his side. We need to talk. You've been avoiding me for a whole week, and I just want to know. What did I do? Asher. Reuben surveyed Asher, his expression, as per usual, inscrutable. If you have to ask me that, then it shows you haven't reflected on your behavior in the slightest. I would have thought it was obvious what you did. Oh, fuck me. This isn't about the Noah thing again, is it? What if it is? What would you say? I'd say, what the fuck? Why do you care so much? It's not like I said any of that shit to you. I actually like you. I'm not going to turn against you if that's what you're worried about, so... That isn't what I'm worried about. We've always been good friends. I know you treat me well. Friends, huh? Is that all I am to you, Asher? Alright, I mean, I had feelings, but... Reuben just shrugged nonchalantly. He always had that look on his face, a calm passiveness. It's what you would have everyone else believe. Okay. You know what my parents are like. If they found out, they disowned me. I can't afford to be disowned now. The shit they've said to Noah about that August kid, the one he's sweet on, it really pulls their opinions into perspective. I know. Noah shuffled awkwardly in place. This really didn't feel like a conversation he wanted to be privy of, and yet he couldn't look away. That's why I never pushed the issue. I didn't want to make things difficult for you. I would have been happy just quietly spending time together, just the two of us. I didn't mind keeping our relationship a secret. Damn, confirmed in text. But I don't like that you've been keeping secrets from me. I would never. I tell you everything. I'm literally an open book. That's, to be fair, that's a nice sentence for Reuben. Books make more sense than you, Asher. You're honest about your home life, maybe, and your schoolwork and how overwhelmed you feel. But you never told me how you've been treating, or mistreating, rather, your brother. I knew you had a strained relationship, but I didn't realize it was strained because of you. Oh, please. Why do you care so much about how I treat Noah? He's a spoiled brat. He's handed everything on a silver platter, and he doesn't give a shit. He knows that our parents only give a shit about him. And he's my brother. All brothers argue. It's normal. My brother and I don't argue. Is that what this is? Are you comparing Noah and I to you and Emmett? Reuben looked down towards the river, disappointment in his eyes. My mother abandoned us. My father drank and gambled away everything. I wouldn't be alive if not for Emmett. I know. I know that your brother is important to you, but... There's no but, Asher. I I thought you understood that family is so important to me. My mother and father were never my family, really. I mean, the family who stick around, who cheer you on. I thought you were that for Noah, too. At least I thought you were on civil terms. I didn't know you harassed him like you do. I was just letting off some steam, really. You should know that I don't really mean it. Should I? I don't know anymore, Asher. I feel like I don't know the real you at all. I'm always the real me around you. What if that's just another act of yours? Like a character in a book. Maybe none of your reactions are your own, just the person you think I want you to be. It's not that deep. I just didn't think it was a big deal. I mean, he's my brother. I can say what I like to him, and anyway, he's rude to me in response. He doesn't respect me. Why should he, if you've been treating him that awfully? Respect isn't something a person is owed. It's something a person needs to work for. You've not proven yourself worthy of it. Oh, come on. You've not seriously been ghosting me because of the way I treat Noah, have you? If it bothers you that much, I'll apologize, but save your breath. Reuben glanced away from Asher, his eyes narrowed. You're apologizing to the wrong person. Noah is the one you really upset, not me. But you don't care about that, do you? You don't care about who you hurt, so long as you get what you want. That's not true. I care about you, Reuben. And I care about you, too. I spent years working and working and working so my older brother could go to university and have a future. So he didn't have to give up his dreams just to raise me. He tried to be what I missed from my parents. He was the one who stuck around. He's my family. If I didn't have him, if he treated me like you treat Noah, I don't think I can trust you anymore, Asher. What? Reuben, wait, I can change. I will, I swear. I'm sick of excuses and false promises. Are you sick of me? Reuben closed his eyes. Deeply, he inhaled. Then, he said, his voice soft. For the moment, yes. I don't think I can be with you anymore. Not while you don't show a hint of remorse. I'm sorry. What? Reuben, wait. Don't go. We can still talk this through. We can... Reuben, please. Reuben. Asher called after Reuben's retreating back, but his voice was weak, and it wavered. There was no real conviction in it, perhaps because he knew, no matter what he said, Reuben would not come back. Noah did not know Reuben very well, but from the little he had gleaned, Asher's friend had a strong sense of family. Asher's friend, sorry. Noah, I don't think they were just friends, but... Reuben. Oh, fuck. Fuck. Asher's face twisted. Tears began to bead in the corner of his eyes. Hot, wet tears, which took Noah by surprise. Then, he crumpled. Asher fell, his knees hitting the grassy riverbank. His torso bent forwards, trembling, and he pressed his head in his hands. Noah couldn't see Asher's face, but he could hear his sobs. They were so desperate, Noah felt his heart clenching in sympathy for his older brother. It was a curious sensation, feeling sorry for Asher. Noah had never felt the need before. Asher had always been the golden child of the family, the one Noah was always being compared to. Asher received perfect grades in everything he did, and he was popular with his classmates. He was cordial, charismatic, and effortlessly cheerful. Noah's mother was always sighing and tutting and asking why Noah couldn't be more like his older brother. Asher, unlike Noah, didn't have any delusions about being an artist. Asher kept his nose to the grindstone and focused, instead, on subjects which would net him a respectable career in the future, math and the sciences. Asher didn't hang around with people like August, either, who might lure him into the wicked temptations. Asher's best friend was Reuben, a quiet, studious boy who Noah's parents regarded as a good influence. Asher cared about the right interests, and he talked to all the right people. Noah had never been able to measure up to him. Asher was perfect. Fuck. Oh God. And now, Noah's perfect older brother was sobbing on the riverbank, reduced to a shadow of his former self after a few stern words from Reuben. Noah had always known Asher was close to Reuben, but he hadn't known their relationship was like that at all. He never would have guessed. He didn't even think Asher was capable about caring about someone to such an extent. I always thought that the only person Asher cared about was Asher. But I guess I was being unfair. He must have cared a lot about Reuben, too. I didn't realize they were so close. But I guess there's a lot about Asher I didn't know. It's not like I ever really spoke to him. Noah certainly hadn't known that Asher was capable of crying like this. He hadn't known he was capable of crying full stop. Asher had always seemed too good for tears. Why would he have bothered with them when he was so intelligent, so self-assured, so adored? Noah was now beginning to see, however, that Asher's persona had been carefully cultivated. Perhaps deep down he wasn't as together as he wanted to appear. If he was, Reuben's departure never would have hurt him like this. Reuben. Fuck, Reuben. Asher mumbled pitifully to himself, his voice muffled by his hands and by his tears. How could you leave me? Fuck. Asher sounded so distraught, Noah was struck with a sudden desire to console him. It's funny. I always thought that I hated him, but seeing him this vulnerable, I guess he's more than just my self-absorbed big brother. He's a person, too, with problems of his own. I just never realized he had any, because he always hid them. He was so busy trying to act perfect, I think I forgot he was a real person. How can I tell him that, though? And should I even bother? Noah knew, as he watched Asher cry, that this was nothing more than a dream. Even if he did successfully manage to assuage, I've never said that word, Asher's worries, Asher wouldn't remember it when he woke up. Reaching out to him now while he slept would be a waste of time. It would be better to not extend his energy worrying about this version of his brother. But Noah worried, all the same. And after I talked so big to Cain last night, too, about hating him, even I can't make up my mind, huh? Swallowing down his conflicted feelings, Noah slowly made his way over to Asher, searching all the while for the words which might offer him some amount of comfort. But he was interrupted before he could reach his brother. A voice, almost familiar, called out to Asher. You can cry as much as you like, but it's already too late. Damn. I'm not going to show you any pity. You brought this all on yourself, didn't you? It's only natural that you pay for your sins. Huh? Noah stopped short, his eyes wide. He had thought that the riverbank was deserted after Reuben's absence. He, Crow, and Asher should have been the only people there, and Asher was so caught up in his own misery he had yet to remove his hands from his face. He was still crying. Noah hadn't heard anybody approach them. There had been no telltale sounds of footsteps, no rustling of the grass underfoot. It was an undeniable truth, however, that a fourth party had joined them. There was somebody there, standing just behind Asher, somebody who should not have been there. Noah didn't know where they had come from. It was almost as though they had materialized out of thin air, and maybe they had. It's definitely someone who can travel between dreams like I can, isn't it? Who else do I know who has that power, though? There's Ivan, but this isn't Ivan. This isn't Ivan at all. The figure standing behind Asher was almost incorporeal. It was like his entire being was made of shadow. But there was definitely a person under there. A person with broad shoulders and a low voice. Noah remained frozen, rooted to the spot, as the mysterious man reached into his pocket. Then, from within it, he drew something cold and hard, something sinister which Noah had only ever seen from within a dream. He was holding a gun. Wait, he can't. Noah watched on, his breath bated, as the mysterious man shifted. Then, without further preamble, he faced the barrel of the gun to Asher's head.
I don't know how to pronounce that, Asher. That's up to you.
Asher seemed to not realize what was happening. He was still crying, his head in his hands.
Could he not feel that murderous energy?
Or was he just too consumed by his own grief to care? Noah didn't know. I think you've hurt enough people to last a lifetime. Ruin was just the tip of the iceberg. He, at least, was able to rid himself of you, but others, they weren't so lucky. I didn't want to resort to this, but some people just don't change. You've always been an asshole. It pains me to say this since you're Noah's brother, but you're nothing like him.
The world really would be better off without you. Just the idea of, like, a figure that's entirely black and then just eyes really made me laugh.
What? No! It was only now, as the mysterious man adjusted his grip on the gun, that the ability of speech returned to Noah. He gasped, his fingers curling into fists, then cried, "That's enough! Don't hurt him!" Huh? The shadowy figure raised his head, alerted by the sound of Noah's cry. A cool wind blew, disturbing the shadow that seemed to conceal the figure. Is it just like a stench around him? It shifted and dissipated, to better reveal who he really was. Brown hair was illuminated by the moon's light, a firm jaw, blue eyes. It was a face Noah knew well, better perhaps than his own reflected in the mirror, because Noah had sworn off looking at his reflection after August's death. He hadn't wanted to be reminded of just how haggard he had become. This man, however, had always looked after himself. His features were undeniably handsome, even when obscured with undulating shadows. It was Cain. Cain? You... Noah took an uneasy step back. He could hardly believe what he was seeing, that Cain was standing there, holding a gun to Asher's temple. It didn't seem real. It felt like a dream.
It is a dream, but it's still real. What the hell are you doing?
Noah. Cain's voice cracked. He looked shocked and horrified. He was shaking, though Noah hoped he didn't shake to such an extent that he accidentally unloaded a bullet into Asher's head. I know I said I hated him, but I didn't mean that I wanted him to die. I never asked for this.
You weren't supposed to see this. Why'd you come here? You should be sleeping.
He was sleeping soundly. I'm the one who chose to intervene. If you want to be mad at anybody, you should be mad at me. You. Cain glared at Crow. It had been quite some time since the two men had last seen one another, but Cain's mistrust for Crow had yet to abate. He looked even more hateful than before. So it was you. Of course it was. The one pretending to be August, holding Noah in the past. Whether I hold him in the past or not is of little matter to the moment. I've been looking out for Noah. That is more than you can claim.
What, you think you're some guardian angel?
Crow smiled bashfully. It sounds a little cheesy, but yes. Why? Why, Cain? How can you stand there by his side, Noah? How can you stand to look at his face? How can you say that when you have a gun pressed to my only brother's head? If my face upsets you, then I apologize, but I will not apologize for standing by Noah's side. I didn't think a kind man like you could commit so many terrible deeds. Stop it. Like you, I want Noah to be happy. Stop it. Kane inhaled sharply. He continued to press the cold, hard barrel of the gun to Asher's temple, but some of his earlier convictions seemed to have vanished. He shook, just like a frightened schoolboy. But the vitriol in his voice when he addressed Crow was unmistakable. Don't stand there pretending that you know how I feel. You wouldn't ever understand what I've gone through, what I've done. Don't pretend we're the same. Don't pretend we want the same thing while you wear that face. I'm trying to look after Noah. Whether you want to believe it or not, we have the same goal, just... Crow looked at the gun held to Asher's temple. Gone about it in very different ways. He exhaled. That is why you're doing this, isn't it, Kane? It's because you're trying to protect Noah. Why do you care? I'm asking because I'd like to try and understand you. I don't think it's a coincidence that all the people who died were people who wronged him in the past. You were targeting them deliberately in the hopes that it would help free Noah from his shackles. Noah opened his mouth to speak, then closed it again. Words were failing him, completely and utterly. He swallowed, but his throat felt dry. It could very well have been a desert. Kane, you... What the fuck are you doing? The words Noah eventually summoned weren't the most eloquent, but they would do. Noah, listen, I didn't expect to see you here, but I can explain. If you'll just listen, then What is there for me to listen to? Noah rounded on Kane, his eyes flashing with fury. How can you explain? I almost wish Crow hadn't shown me this. I don't want to see him like this. I don't want to think of Kane as a killer. But he is. That's the truth. All this time, Kane has been helping me find the killer. And to what end? He must have known we'd never find any leads, not when he was the killer all along. You've been lying to me, Kane. For the last week, you've let me believe that we were going to catch the murderer together, that you wanted to stop them. But that wasn't true, was it? You're the one I've been looking for this whole time, in a different context. That's kind of cute. You killed my parents. And fuck, you were going to kill Asher. How could you? How could you do this to me? Kane did not, in answer to Noah's cries, say anything. Perhaps he knew there was nothing he could say. He stared at Noah, his fingers still curled about the pistol, as storm clouds swirled overhead. The sky rumbled ominously. Then, raindrops began to fall from the sky. The rain was faint at first and scattered, but soon picked up. The rain drummed against the water in the river, so it rippled. It struck the ground, over and over, as merciless as any artillery. The rain landed on Noah's scalp. It slid down the nape of his neck. It was bitingly cold, and he shuddered. Kane. Noah inhaled, his fingers curling into fists. A few weeks ago, when we found ourselves in Mr. Floyd's dream, you said you didn't know anything about the dream world. You looked so surprised, and I felt sorry for you. But that was an act too, wasn't it? Even before that, you killed my parents. You knew about these dream worlds long before we did that together. Once again, Kane remained mute. Well, so much for him being able to explain himself. I'm right. Noah asserted this on Kane's behalf, in the face of his silence. For weeks, you've been lying to me, leading me on this fucking farce, acting like you wanted to help me find the killer, acting like you cared. All this time, all of this. It's all been a lie. No, Noah, that's not it. I might have lied when we went into Mr. Floyd's dream, and I lied about not knowing who the killer was. Obviously, you don't even need to spell it out. I'm not stupid. But I never lied when I said I cared about you. I meant that, every word. You're the most important person in the world to me. You're my best friend, the only person I've ever been able to rely on. That's why I did what I did. I was just trying to protect you. So you thought you'd slaughter my whole family behind my back? It's not like that, Noah. I didn't enjoy doing it. I'm not that kind of person. I just didn't know what else to do. How did I ever trust you? We're friends, Noah. That's not a lie, I swear. How am I supposed to know that? How am I supposed to know where your lies end? You just have to trust me. I don't trust you. There's no talking around the fact that you killed my parents. You killed Luca. You're here right now with a gun to Asher's head. Noah. Kane stared at Noah, his expression stricken. His face looked pasty, almost as pasty as Asher's, and his right hand, which held the gun, was trembling. Icy droplets of rain continued to fall from the sky, droplets which struck Kane's scalp, his cheeks, his shoulders. Time seemed to slow down. It expanded. Noah wondered, terrified, whether Kane would pull the trigger after all and end Asher's life for good. But then, Kane let his right arm drop. All the strength seemed to vacate his body, and his grip on the gun slackened. The weapon fell to the floor, hitting the grassy ground harmlessly with a soft thud. Then, Kane turned. Noah couldn't see Kane's face when he next addressed him, but he could hear the hurt in Kane's voice. It was so intense his vocal cords seemed to throb from it. I'm sorry, Noah. I didn't want you to see me like this. And I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought this was what you wanted, but... Kane paused. He swallowed. I guess I didn't understand you after all. Some best friend I am, huh? Weakly, Kane laughed, though it was without any humor. His laughter was even colder than the rain which fell from the sky, drumming against the riverbank. It was such a joyless sound it twisted Noah's insides. He wanted to approach Kane, to ask him why he did what he did, but he couldn't. His feet were rooted to the ground. All he could do was stand there, shaking as Kane walked away.
Oh, okay, bye.
He thought Kane might have muttered something before his departure. Forgive me, maybe, but the rain was coming down so hard Noah could hardly hear him. Kane's broad back, which had always looked so dependable, retreated. Then, he disappeared. One moment, Kane was there, and the next, he was not. It was almost as if he'd never been there at all. Kane's discarded gun remained, however, on the riverbank, its sleek black exterior glossy from falling rain. It served as a reminder that this really was real. Even if the scene laid out before Noah, the crumpled Asher, the discarded pistol, was all a dream. Noah? Noah heard Crow's voice from his right, or at least he thought he did. It was raining so intently, and Noah's thoughts were racing so much he was no longer sure. Noah, are you... all right? Hey. Crow reached out, perhaps meaning to rest a steadying hand on Noah's shoulder, but... Noah? Before Crow could reach him, the last vestiges of his strength left him. Noah's body crumpled, as though he were a puppet, one whose strings had been cut. He slumped forwards, his knee hitting the muddy riverbank. Noah? Noah! Noah's torso crumpled. His eyelids fell shut. Then, there was nothing. Noah! Nothing except the sound of Crow's frantic cries, and the low, constant hum of the falling rain. All right, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this episode here. I'm not very surprised by it being Kane. I mean, I feel like I definitely picked up on some hints, I don't know, 10 episodes ago. I forget what episode it was when I was kind of like, oh, I think this is going to happen. And ever since then, it's just kind of been getting worse and worse looking for Cain. So, not extremely surprised, but I am interested in seeing what happens next between Cain and Noah, especially because they've been getting closer in the last few episodes. I'm interested in seeing Noah's thoughts on finding out that Cain has been killing everybody around him and what Noah is going to do in this situation. But that's going to have to be for next episode because we're out of time in this episode. So, thank you for watching this. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that all of your thoughts on who the killer was correct. You got everything right. And I will see you in the next episode to see what do we do with this information.